Martin mentioned this briefly last hour when we were together because it made for quite a challenge for me doing what I do, and when breaking news hits and something of a serious nature like we experienced yesterday in the apparent suicide of our state auditor, Tom Schweik, and it broke in the show, and we were talking about bachelorette parties, and it just, it just made it hard. And a lot of talk radio is geared towards talking about the issues and the news of the day, so they are set to say, well, what's the speculation? Where does the Republican Party go from here? What's the issue? How do the Democrats position themselves from this point going forward? I don't have any interest in any of that. But I also don't want to walk away from what happened without the one question that I think is on everybody's mind. Here's a guy, Yale, Harvard educated, all kinds of awards, wildly successful, throwing his hat in the gubernatorial race with people lining up to give him money and endorse him and help him to move to the governor's seat. By all accounts, in general, somebody had everything going for them. And is so often the case with movie stars and other people that are financially successful or have families, and you think everything's going great, and then everything comes crashing down because they have taken their own lives. The one question I think across the board that we all have is what was going on? And subsequent to that, to the close people around them, how did we not see this? There's an organization called Provident. I believe they're national. I'll be corrected quickly if I'm wrong. Joining us from there is Linda Fehrmann, and Linda is a counselor there, a licensed counselor, a certified grief therapist, longtime clinician, and facilitates the Survivors of Suicides group. Linda, thanks for coming on the program, and sorry you had to listen to my really, really long opening of the show.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Am I correct in thinking that Provident is a national organization?
No, it is not a national organization.
It is local.
It's a local agency, a local nonprofit agency.
Do you, obviously, you service the people that are in trouble, in crisis, in their minds or otherwise, but what about family? How many calls, or what is the percentage of people that reach out to you that aren't necessarily the ones in crisis, but the ones that have concerns about loved ones around them?
Yes, we do. We have the 24-hour crisis line through Life Crisis Services. We do get quite a few third-party callers, family members who are calling concerned about someone who they think might be having thoughts of suicide.
It's one of the things I wanted to certainly bring to light in our conversation. What are those things? And I know you can't paint with a broad brush on this, but what are those kinds of things that we should see as signs that somebody's in trouble?
It could be any noticeable changes in behavior. Some of the most common signs we look for are suddenly the person is suddenly isolating themselves from friends and family. They appear to be in a depressed mood. They might even be giving away possessions suddenly, might all of a sudden withdraw from things that they normally enjoy doing. And maybe they're even talking about dying. All of these things, are kind of warning signs that someone might be thinking about suicide.
And after the fact, a lot of people will say, I should have seen that. I should have noticed that change, and they didn't. But it also seems sometimes that quite often those symptoms seem to be the exact opposite. And we'll take the auditor as an example. A couple months ago, throws his hat in the ring. He's going to run for governor. He's got an exploratory committee. Things are going on. He's got support. He's got momentum. Boy, those sure don't look like signs of someone in crisis.
That's absolutely right, and that is what we hear time and again from people who have lost someone to suicide. that they never noticed anything different. I didn't know the auditor, so I can't, actually speak for, anything that might have been happening with him. But there might have been some things, underlying things that maybe family was concerned about. We won't know the motive. We won't ever know the motive.
You are certified in what you do as a grief therapist, a longtime clinician, and sadly also have experience with this. And I think a lot of people do. I lost my nephew a few years ago to a suicide, and it's wildly sad. But for those left behind, we all say, what more could we have done? What should we have done to see him? We've talked a little bit about the symptoms, but talk about other things, how we can be more vigilant, and maybe other things we can do to gently suggest to that person that they seek help, because you can't help people that don't want it.
That's right. Some things families can do if they do notice a change in behaviors, if the person is doing some things that there might be concerned about, such as isolating themselves, maybe not taking care of personal appearances. The best thing the family member can do is reach out to that person and ask them, I'm noticing this and I'm wondering what's going on. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody about suicide. And if you fear someone might be thinking about suicide, don't be afraid to ask them. And we have to ask them directly. I'm wondering if you're thinking about suicide. We have to stay away, from phrases like, you're not thinking about doing something stupid, are you? Because that is just judgmental. And you're not going to get an honest answer from the person.
Somebody at this point staring off the precipice is at the epitome of hopelessness. How do you get them to seek help? And I can only liken it to, and I'm not making light of the situation, but we were talking about this the other day. The best way to get your boss to act on something and do something that you've come up with is to make it seem like it's their idea, which is so true. And I would think this would also apply to something like this, to get somebody to make a call and to reach out to Provident or somebody that helps with things like this.
Absolutely. Like if you notice someone that you are personally concerned about, again, the best thing you can do is ask them what's going on, or if they're having thoughts of suicide, and then take some time and listen to them. Let them talk. Let them talk about what's going on. And then, kind of help them, to work out a plan to keep them safe. Part of that plan could be calling a crisis line or reaching out to a physician or a mental health professional.
And the numbers are staggering, and these
yes,
go
back
a few years, over 40,000 people in the United States.
Right.
Every year. Missouri, number 17 in suicide rates. You hear a lot about it with veterans and people in the military, but certainly it's not exclusive to them. It seems to hit teens an awful lot as well.
Yes.
Give me some contact information for people, please.
Sure. Our crisis line, we have the local Life Crisis Services line. The local hotline is 314-647-4357 or 647-HELP. And then there is the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. This is a toll-free number. It is 800-273-TALK or 273-8255. Now, veterans, the Lifeline also has a veterans crisis line, and veterans can call that number, the 800-273-8255, and they'll be given a prompt to press 1 for veterans, and that will take them to the veterans crisis line.
All right, and it is Provident here in St. Louis online, providentstl.org. We'll put this contact information up on KTRS.com So people can find out more if they're interested, if there's someone that they're concerned about. And if anything good is to come out of the tragedy of yesterday, it's to reemerge with this conversation and hopefully help someone. Linda Fehrmann, thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you.
Your efforts there and your time today from Provident, St. Louis. And again, those phone numbers we'll put up on KTRS.com, but at 647-HELP or 1-800-273-TALK for more information online at providentstl.org. Thank you for indulging me. I thought that would be the best way to address what broke yesterday. Martin mentioned this briefly last hour when we were together because it made for quite a challenge.